So you're thinking about moving to Kansas City and the surrounding areas like Leavenworth, Kansas, but you've got some questions. You want to know, like, where are things at? How do you get around? Where are some key points of interest and places to go? And so if that's you, then you want to stick around and watch this video because we're going to give you a full map tour of Leavenworth, Kansas and the surrounding areas. We'll show you some of the highlights of Leavenworth and also how to go from Leavenworth actually to the airport, how to go from Leavenworth to downtown, how to go from Leavenworth actually out to Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium, and some really cool areas around Leavenworth as well. And if you stick around until the very end, I'll also share with you some bonus hotspots outside of Leavenworth in the Kansas City area that lots of people like to go to. You definitely don't want to miss those because those are always fun to see. And we're going to get after it right now. If this is your first time on our channel and you want to know everything there is about moving and living in Kansas City and the surrounding areas like Leavenworth, Kansas, then make sure that you subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the very first to know about the current market here in Kansas City as well as in Leavenworth, Kansas. My name is Jimmy Zell. My wife Nikki and I are actually part of the Living in Kansas City team. And every single day we get phone calls, text messages, and emails from people just like you and you and you. And so whether you're gonna move in 7 days or 7 months, feel free to reach out to us as all of our contact information is in the description box below. We'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to Kansas City and the surrounding areas like Leavenworth, Kansas. And so with that, everybody, let's jump into my computer. I wanna take you into a closer look on the map of Leavenworth, Kansas and the surrounding areas. And let's get after it. All right, let's jump into looking at our map, giving you a full map tour of Leavenworth, Kansas. Before I jump into it and I start with the pros and cons, I do want to share with you just some things about Leavenworth, Kansas. First of all, it is the first city in Kansas. It was actually established in 1854. And it has about 38,000 people that actually live in Leavenworth. Now, that's in the city of Leavenworth. The population of Leavenworth County, which I actually live in Leavenworth County. I love Bonner Springs, but I go all the way up to Leavenworth, I stop in Lansing sometimes. And so this whole county is just a great part of Kansas City, on the western side of Kansas City. But the county of Leavenworth has about 83,000 people that live there. Now, when people think of Leavenworth, they typically think of like a couple things. In the comments, let me know what you think of when you think of Leavenworth. But most people say, well, they think of Fort Leavenworth, which just so you know, Fort Leavenworth is what they call the intellectual center of the U.S. Army. There's about 6,000 people that live there full time, just under 6,000. But on the post daily, there's about 17,000 people that actually are on that post. And Leavenworth has a total square foot of about 24 square miles, which 5,600 acres of that is Fort Leavenworth. Okay, so those are just a few little points before we jump into the map tour of Leavenworth, Kansas. So let me do this. I'm going to share my screen now and be able to show you and get into the Google Maps here, and let's dive into the city of Leavenworth. Okay, now let's take a look at Leavenworth, Kansas. So you can see this is Leavenworth, all this red area, but now let me zoom out and show you where it is relative to where Kansas City is. So as you can see on the big map, Leavenworth is actually in the northwest corner of Kansas City. You can kind of see it's kind of out there. Now, I did another video on Lawrence, Kansas. It's another area, surrounding area of Kansas City. And of course, we do a lot of suburb videos. But the reason why Leavenworth is out here, and it's not really a suburb, but it's just a small town, I want to show you the proximity because a lot of people will say, well, it's kind of just out there. But the reality is it's because of the highway system. It's really not that far out. And there's a lot of pros and cons, of course, to living out in Leavenworth. But today I want to show you really, where Leavenworth is, and then also to get to some places, okay? And so if you look on the big map here, Leavenworth is, like I said, northwest part of Kansas City. And if you scroll up a little bit more, to the north of it is St. Joseph, Missouri. Okay, you can see that here. Let me get my little marker out. Let's move this down there. There we go. And so St. Joe is there. And then also, if you go and you take it out a little bit more, there's a couple things. University of Kansas. Here's Lawrence, and here's also the Topeka. Topeka is the state capital of Kansas. So those aren't that far as well from Leavenworth. And then if you scroll out a little bit, you come on to this side. Of course, if you come out a little bit more, you can see you've got all of Kansas City here. And then there's also, of course, on 70 all the way out to St. Louis, Columbia. and then all the way 70 west, you're going to be heading out to actually Denver. All right, so let's dive into Leavenworth. Though I want to show you, because there's some really good things about Leavenworth, and there's some things that you want to be aware of because of where it is actually located. Northwest side, let's do this. I want to show you how to get to the airport first. You'll love this, because if you live out in Leavenworth and you have to travel a lot, getting to the airport is fairly easy. All right, let's see here. Is and so you can look, it's really only about a 26-minute drive if you're living downtown. You know, if you're on the other side of the city, the east side of the city, it's going to be a little quicker for you. But now here's the thing. You notice that these highways are not your major highways. They're especially once this little patch getting over to the Missouri side, okay? One thing about where Leavenworth is located, to get to it are some smaller highways. You know, so you just want to be aware of that. Listen, we live in Kansas, especially when you start getting further out there. Just be aware of things, you know, especially driving. There's deer, things like that. And so just be aware of that. But getting to the airport, not a big deal here, because you're not going to run across a lot of traffic. You just may not be on big major interstate getting there fast until you get to about 29. Then, of course, you can just haul all the way down there. Let's talk about getting to also downtown, because a lot of people will want to know how to get there. And if you look on the map, now this is the route that they're taking you here, is basically taking 7 all the way down. This is 73, which also turns into 7 highway later, 73 down to I-70, which is a major interstate. And that takes you all the way downtown. You really don't face a ton of traffic until you start getting inside of our loop. But then, even then, the Kansas City traffic, the commute is actually, for its size, is actually one of the fastest still commutes. And so actually, if you look at the pros and cons of Kansas City video we did on that, we talk about that. I mean, that is one of the best commutes for people that live out in the suburbs. So same thing here from Leavenworth. If you have to work downtown or you have to work in the city, it's still not a bad drive, 40-some minute drive to get there. And like I said, about 25 minutes to the airport. And then for a lot of people in Kansas City, of course, they also want to know how to get to Arrowhead Stadium. Multiple ways, but what you'll want to do, since you're on the northern side of town, is come across, hit 152, and then come down and take one of our major highways down to Arrowhead Stadium or Kauffman Stadium. We love our sports teams here, so that's about a good 50-55 minute drive depending on where you're at in Leavenworth. There's another route that I will share with you that other people, they'll take this south route, and they actually will come across and take this, jump on, you know, eventually run into 435, 5 south and then to 435, and then they just take 70 all the way in as well, okay? So multiple ways to get to the stadium. Now, one of the things about Leavenworth is that there's not that far from them what we call Legends outlets. Now, I'm very familiar with this because this isn't too far from where we live. And so what happens is Leavenworth, you take 73 down and you literally are at the Legends. Now, the Legends has a couple things. You've got the Speedway out there. Kansas Speedway is there. Sporting KC plays out in this area as well. And so a lot of people, if you're trying to get into the city or maybe go to a very happening place, there's tons of shopping at the Legends. Dave & Buster's is out there. There's a new Korean barbecue out there. There's just a lot of good, we go there a lot. Legends, a lot of people in Leavenworth County go there if they want to eat at a restaurant. There's a good steakhouse out there. You know, it's just a Louisiana seafood place. So a lot of really good places to eat out there. And then of course you got Sam's Club, and so all this area down here. So a lot of people will come down because Leavenworth's a little bit smaller town, and so they'll come down here and see this part of the area as well. And then also one other thing too, which has gotten really popular inside of Kansas City, is Current, the new soccer team. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so KC Current, you'll see this. They're about a 40-minute drive as well. It gets into your downtown on the other side near the river, and here it is right here. You can see this right here. And I share it with you because that has become very popular as well. So Sporting KC, like I said, the soccer teams, the sports events here are a big deal in Kansas City now, especially with the Chiefs being Super Bowl champs 3 times very recently. And so you have that. All right, so let's take and go into Leavenworth a little bit more. I want to share with you guys a lot about Leavenworth because it's such a cool town. First things first. Now, if you don't know the history, of course, Fort Leavenworth was first, and it was there for, of course, for all the settlers going west. Because if you notice how the Missouri River people would come up it and then it doesn't go west, so that's where they would hop off and stop here in Leavenworth. That's how it ended up being a city, because it goes north instead of going west. And then of course they would hop off, and then, you know, and the settlers would start going west. But if you'll look here, this is, of course, Fort Leavenworth. I mean, it's massive intellectual center for the United States Army. And I want to thank you for all of our men, women, and families that have served in the past or present, and especially the ones that have given the ultimate sacrifice for all of our freedoms. I never take that stuff lightly because of what we get to live life and get to help people, especially with all the things that we do. So really appreciate them. All right, so Fort Leavenworth is there. Now, I want to share with you some highlights of the downtown Leavenworth area. Okay, so one of the things that you'll find out, and you'll see this in some of our other videos, is really there's about 28 blocks historical downtown area. And let me pull it up here. So this is downtown Leavenworth, and I just want to show you there's the north boundary is really Miami Street. Let me pull this up a little bit more. Okay, so let me just show you where this is, right? Let me get kind of situated here. Okay, so if you look, there's this all the way to Esplanade, and then also the west boundary would be Broadway, and then the south boundary would be like Cherokee. Okay, let me move out of the way, all the way down. And so in this area right through here, everybody, okay, is the historical downtown area, 28 blocks, 250 some businesses down in this area. And you'll see some of the drone footage we'll put inside this video, so you can see some of that right now. So this is just a very historical part of downtown. This is where a lot of people like to go and just, some of the fun stuff you can do in a small town like Leavenworth, Kansas. So let me pull out, I'm going to show you a couple things. One of the things that's really neat is I pull this up a little bit more, is this 3-mile walking trail. Okay, let's see if it pulls it up this way. Okay, you can see there's a trail, there it is. It starts right around here and it goes, you can see if you follow this all the way down to the riverfront. This is the Missouri River. It's just really cool down here. You can see the pictures and stuff. So just a great place to walk and hike through there. And it's not 3 miles. They call it 3 miles because the 3 Mile Creek actually started all the way back up to the fort. And that's where they would start their day off and shoot cannons and things like that. It's a little bit of the history there. Right here is the CW Carousel Museum. This thing has been around since it was restored in 1913. Okay, so there's the museum there, and also the carousel is still there. So that's pretty cool. And then let's see what else we've got. And that's famous here for all of you. Let me pull out a little bit more. A lot of history. Downtown, you'll find out there's a lot of old historical buildings, and there's even some that are haunted. You'll hear those stories as well. Right here, this is the Carroll Mansion, okay, that you can see on the screen. And that's, of course, another famous museum in town. It's a lot of history. Remember, the very first city in the state of Kansas is Leavenworth, Kansas. So a lot of history there, and it's great. Now, the thing about Leavenworth is a couple things is in another video I'll share with you about all the schools and the pros and cons. That'll be a little bit longer video. It's got some really great schools. Actually, niche.com ranked Leavenworth. Let me pull this into the screen here for all of you. Niche.com ranked it as an A-, number 3rd best place to live in Leavenworth County, and one of the top cities, of course, in Kansas. And you notice here that they've got a B rating for the public schools, because they've got some schools A's and some B's, but still above average schools there. Crime and safety have been some concern for the size of the city, but the thing is, just like in any city, you gotta be aware where you want to live, and there's a lot of, of course, great places to live inside of Leavenworth, right? So that's a little bit from niche.com as well. I'll pull that out there. And so Leavenworth, lots of, if you go into the map a little bit more, you can see you've got like Westlake, Ace Hardware, a lot of big things. Then I want to share with you, let me see here, you've got University of St. Mary for higher education is there as well. And so one of the things about Leavenworth, if you look on the map, so Leavenworth takes this whole area right here, right, in the red. You can see Leavenworth is all this red, right? This is Leavenworth, okay? And then down here, you're gonna run right into 73 South. You're gonna run into a little town called Lansing. They're starting to butt up against each other. Some development, of course, is happening in these areas here. All right, the south side of Leavenworth, and Lansing is kind of growing into each other, all part of Leavenworth County. Lansing, of course, is another great place to live. Actually, they've got top-rated schools as well, and so very a good place to live as well. We actually know some people live in Lansing as well, and people in Leavenworth too. We actually know families that live in both these cities because we all go to a fairly big church here in Kansas City called Westside Family Church, and people go to Leavenworth and Lansing campuses, things like that, so we actually know people there. And then so if you take this all the way down, like I was showing with you earlier, and if you take this 73 and run into Lansing, you keep going down. There's Falcon Lakes Golf Club. Now you're starting to get into Baser. which is another hot and up and coming little area. And then if you scroll down a little bit more is when you get into Bonner Springs, and that's actually where we live. Right, so you can see, and there's the Speedway, right? You come off and there's that whole area as well. So the good thing about Leavenworth is that, you know, you've got the small town feel, right? There's definitely a smaller town, but access to so many different things. Being able to get to the airport, you'd be able to get to the city, and then being able to just go south on 7, and you're gonna run right into basically Legends. If you wanna, on the north side, if you go all the way across to past the airport, 152, there's a whole bunch of shopping centers right in this area as well, you know, that a lot of people go to, and it's called Zona Rosa, and it's actually, let me pull it up here for you. Yes, right here. This is the Zona Rosa area. So that's on the north side of Kansas City, just south of the airport. So you can see how close that is as well. All right, so you've got that. Now, I want to give you guys some bonus spots because in Leavenworth, and because we're landlocked, there's some bonus spots that you definitely want to be aware of. We don't have the beaches or the mountains, but here's what we have. We have lakes. And so if you look at where Leavenworth is, here's a lake to your right called Smithville. Very easy to get to. People will go there. They'll also go to this one, the big one here, Perry. We love this one. We go to this one. My family loves going to this lake, very close to where we live as well. And then there's also near Lawrence, Clinton Lake. So those 3 big lakes are nearby for all of you. Those are some bonus spots if you want to go and, you know, go have some fun on the weekends or whatever it may be, and, you know, get outside of Leavenworth. Leavenworth's going to be a little bit more of your, you know, smaller town feel. And so if you want to get the big feel of the city, you know, just jump on the highway 7 South, 73 to 7 South. Jump on the Interstate 70 all the way across into the city, or take the northern route, you know, to North KC on the Missouri side, and then be able to go and spend some time over there. Okay, and so those are just some hot spots, a little bit of the map tour for Leavenworth. You're gonna love Leavenworth if you make that your place to move and to live. I'll get into the pros and cons. Make sure you go find that video. Also check out our neighborhood vlog. I'll show you some home prices, and it's a little bit more about homes in that one. But this video, I just wanted to show you on the map where Leavenworth was, how to get to certain things, and that way you get a real good sense of where Leavenworth is located. So with that, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it helps you out, and hope to see you around town. We'll see you on the next video.